everyone, and welcome back to Big OGGIE's world. We're in the kitchen today and it's a lot later than usual. I'm actually cooking this at tea time, which is unusual for us because we tend to do things during the day and then we'll reheat them as we need them in the evening. But this recipe is a one pot recipe. It's pork fillet with leeks, apples, mustard and thyme. It's a recipe from a website that John found, and as it happened we managed to get a pork tenderloin this week on a yellow sticker. Bargain. Who doesn't love a bargain? So I've prepared our vegetables and our potatoes so it's ready because we're literally going to eat this as soon as I've cooked it. Hence the kitchen's looking a bit, you know, whatever. So very simple, very few ingredients. Let's just crack on with it. To start off with, it's all going to be done in a saute pan. You can use a large frying pan if you've got one. You can use a saute pan. You can use a saucepan or a flame-proof casserole, depending on obviously what you're cooking on. So to start off with, on a medium heat, you need to take your butter. Don't worry about the amounts. John will put it all in the ingredients at the bottom for you. So you take your butter, wrap it into the pan and you melt it until it starts foaming, okay? Whilst that's doing, I'm going to take my pork fillet, which I have already prepared. When you get a pork tenderloin, I mean it's the best cut of pork, really. You can't, it's like a fillet of pork if you like. But sometimes you get like a silvery membrane on it. Not all the time, just sometimes. If you do have that, try and remove it. So I just got a very sharp little knife, stuck it under and just wiggled it, and it comes away really easily. But if you don't take that off, you will regret it because it will make that piece of pork tough and it will make it sort of chewy. You don't want that. Whilst that's happening, I am going to season my pork. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that, but my butter is just starting to foam. So I'm now going to add into it my pork fillet, piece at a time. Try to make sure you've got space between each piece because you don't want it to sweat, basically. So we're going to cook our pork for a few minutes on each side, and then when it's starting to brown, just slightly, you don't want it to go very brown, but just starting to get a little bit of colour on it, we're going to take it out and put it onto our plate and then we'll do the next bit. So I'll come back when my pork is done. Okay, so that's stage one of the pork done. You don't need to worry about cooking your pork all the way through at this point because it's going to go back into the pan later. You just literally need to start getting a little bit of colour on it and just cooking for a couple of minutes on each side. So take that out and put it onto a plate. Now into that pan we're going to add our apples next. So I have peeled and cored and thickly wedged 2 eating apples, which I'm going to drain. I soaked them. In lemon water just to stop them going brown. Now you want your apples to sort of kind of start caramelizing in the buttery juices. We're not looking to cook the apples at this point, we're just looking for them to start caramelizing. Doesn't matter what apples you use at this point, but they must be an eating apple. Just get your favourites or what you've got in the fruit bowl. Okay, so once your apples are kind of beginning to brown or caramelise, you need to take those out and put those on the plate with your pork also. As I said, you're not looking for your apples to be soft or cooked at this point. You're just literally caramelising them like this. Now, we're going to reduce the heat a little bit and we are going to add our leek into the pan and also our sprig of thyme. So the idea at this point now is that we slow everything down and we start cooking our leeks. So we don't want to caramelise them like we've done with the meat and the apples. We're literally looking to start our leeks breaking down as if you would sweat an onion. And the thyme's going in there to give it a bit of extra oomph. The first thing you'll notice is that the leeks soak up all of the butter that you put in there, and that's absolutely fine. Make sure your pan is low enough so that your leeks can cook without burning. Now if you're worried that your leeks are beginning to colour a bit too much and they're not softening down enough, you can just add a small splash of water. And that obviously is going to help create steam and help them start breaking down. Now this bit can take anything from 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, but you just need to take your time with it and let your leeks cook down, because the last thing you want in your finished dish, because remember this is going straight from the pan onto a plate, the last thing you want is an uncooked leek. Okay, so my leeks are now all nicely cooked down and jammy. So the first thing I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to remove my sprig of thyme. Now that's a personal choice and you don't have to do that. If you're happy with the thyme being in there, leave it in there. I just don't like mine being too overpowering. So, next thing, apple cider vinegar. You need a tablespoon of that, which we're going to put over our leeks. And let it sizzle for a minute. That will deglaze your pan if you've not got a non-stick pan. Just let it cook away for a little minute until there's no liquid left. And then onto that we are going to add our chicken stock. In goes the chicken stock. I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning, not too much. And we're going to let that simmer away for another 5 minutes. Now, final stage, into the pan we are now going to add our double cream or crème fraîche, depending on which you've decided to use. I'm using cream. And your mustard. Now you can use whatever mustard you like. I've used Dijon, but whole grain is good too. Just depends if you like a little bit more texture. Give that a mix around so that you incorporate it into the stock and also mix the mustard in. And once you've gently combined all that, we are then going to add back our pork and apples and the little bit of juice that's collected. In that goes get your pork down into that sauce and your apples. Let it come back up to temperature, and we're going to cook it for another, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how thickly you cut your pork. You want your pork to be cooked through, but you don't want it to be tough. You want your apples to start going soft, but you don't want them to completely break down. So this now is a bit of a, you use your own judgment as to how you've prepared your ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to give mine 5 minutes to start with, and then I'm going to check it. Okay, so this is sizzling away, and I am going to put a lid on it. It doesn't say to do that in the recipe, but I don't want my sauce to evaporate too much, because we do like a bit of sauce, and we are having this with mashed potatoes, so we do want a bit of sauce. So I'm just going to put the lid on for a few minutes, just to help the pork and the apples retain heat or get heat, and to stop evaporation. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but if you do, do. Okay, so that is it. As simple as that. Dinner in, what, 20 minutes, maybe? Obviously, as I said, I put a lid on mine. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. It really depends on how you like your sauce. If you want it a bit thicker, or you know, a bit more concentrated, then don't put a lid on. Let it boil, bubble away. Another thing that you could do if you wanted to and wanted to spend extra time is you could add either some white wine, or you could add some cider and let that bubble off before you add your cream. So add it with your stock in effect. Again, basic recipe that you can adapt to your own needs and your own tastes. It smells, I can't even describe the smell, it smells absolutely glorious. And that, my friends, is it. A cheap and well, I say cheap. It was cheap because it was a yellow sticker. But it's one way of making a pork tenderloin stretch a long way to feed a family of 4, which we will be doing. So I hope you like the recipe. If you give it a try, let me know. Give us a thumbs up if you like the recipe. I do love a one pot. You can't beat a one pot as far as I'm concerned. Saves on the washing up as well. If you've subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, we'd be really grateful if you did. And if you know of anybody else that might be interested, please point them in our direction. John will take a lovely picture to show you exactly what it looks like on the plate, and I'm sure when this video goes out we will be able to tell you exactly how delicious it absolutely was. We're serving with mashed potatoes and carrots, and that is a lovely meal for a Saturday evening. So come again soon, hit the notification bell so you know when we're around, and we will see you all again in Big Oggie's kitchen really soon. Bye for now, everyone.